black sea of space stretched forever. Stars shined like cold fire, far and silent. Among them moved a small human ship, no bigger than a fishing boat from old Earth. Inside sat Ethan Cole, a young explorer who liked lonely skies more than crowded cities. For days, nothing had changed. His ship floated, his scanners were quiet, and only the hum of the engine kept him company. He was used to silence, he even liked it. But that silence broke when his screen flickered red. Distress signal. Detected. The voice of the computer was flat, but the sound made Ethan jump. He leaned forward. The signal was weak, almost broken, like a cry far away in a storm. Ethan narrowed his eyes. "That's alien code," he whispered. He had seen many alien symbols before, but this one was old, one that humans almost never heard anymore. Without waiting, he turned his ship toward the signal. His hands moved fast over the controls, and the stars outside shifted. Minutes later, the sight appeared. A broken ship drifted in darkness. The hull was torn open, sparks flew from the metal like dying fireflies. Half the ship looked crushed, as if something had bitten it. Ethan felt his skin crawl. What happened here? The distress beacon blinked, weakly like the last heartbeat of a dying body. He knew time was short. He pulled his helmet over his head, sealed his suit, and launched his small pod. The pod touched the alien ship with a heavy clang. Metal groaned. As the door hissed open, cold air rushed at him. Ethan stepped into darkness. His helmet light cut a thin white path. Inside was chaos. Wires hung like vines, smoke floated through the hall, and strange symbols glowed faintly on the walls. The silence was heavy, broken only by the crackle of fire. Then he heard it. A weak sound. A cough. Ethan's heart kicked in his chest. He turned sharply and followed the sound through the broken corridor. His boots echoed. Another cough, and then a voice. Low. Strained. He found her. An old alien woman sat against the wall, her skin pale, her eyes glowing faint blue. Her chest rose and fell slowly, like a fading flame. She looked fragile, smaller than he expected, with long silver hair that floated in the airless space like a river of light. Her lips moved. Ethan bent close. "Please," she whispered in broken human tongue. "Help. Me." Ethan's heart tightened. She was alive, but barely. He checked his oxygen reader. It was dropping fast. The ship's system was dead, air was almost gone. If he wasted even a minute, she would die. He unstrapped the emergency mask from his suit and placed it gently over her face. She inhaled sharply, then coughed, then breathed. Color returned slowly to her face. "You're safe," Ethan said, though he wasn't sure if she understood. Her weak hands gripped his wrist. Her eyes, though tired, burned with something strong. She tried to speak again, but the words were in her own tongue. Ethan didn't understand. Still, he didn't have time. He lifted her into his arms. She was lighter than he expected, almost weightless. Carefully, he moved back down the hall, his light bouncing across broken walls. Then, the floor shook. The ship groaned like a dying beast. Sparks rained down. Alarms screamed in alien voices. Ethan's stomach dropped. The ship was going to collapse. He ran. His boots slammed the metal floor, his breath loud in his helmet. Behind him, the corridor split, fire and smoke bursting out. The whole ship shook, as if something outside had hit it. The pod was close, just a few more steps. His arms ached, but he didn't let go of the old woman. He jumped inside, slammed the door, and hit launch. The pod shot away. A second later, the alien ship cracked apart in silence. A bright flash lit the black sky. Then the broken vessel turned, into burning pieces drifting in space. Ethan's pod rocked from the shockwave, but he held the woman close, shielding her fragile body. The fire faded. Silence returned. Only drifting pieces of metal remained. He sat back, chest heaving. He looked down at her. Her eyes opened halfway. She stared at him, breathing slowly under the mask. Then, in her language, she whispered something, long, something soft. The translator on Ethan's suit caught only part of it. Human, chosen. Then her eyes closed and she fainted. Ethan froze. His heart pounded. Chosen? What did that mean? He looked out at the dark, endless stars. He had saved a life. But deep inside, he felt that this was not just rescue. It was the beginning of something much bigger. Something that would change his life. Forever. The alien woman did not wake for hours. Ethan's small ship glided through space, silent, carrying both of them toward the nearest star system. He kept checking her pulse. Weak, but steady. He kept staring at her face, old but strong, with strange patterns glowing faintly under her skin. Ethan had rescued travelers before, but this felt different. She had called him chosen before fainting. The word echoed in his head. He shook it away. Maybe the translator made a mistake. Finally, his computer beeped. Approaching alien world. Through the window, a planet grew larger. A silver blue sphere with bright rings around it. Cities shined on its surface, glowing like fireflies in the night. Ethan had never been here before. This was the world of the Ilari, one of the oldest alien races. Humans had little contact with them. Most. Ilari didn't trust humans, and many thought humans were too young, too wild. Ethan slowed his ship. At once, alien voices filled his comms. Unidentified human vessel, state your purpose. He quickly answered. This is Ethan Cole. I am carrying one of your people. She is injured. Please, open docking. There was a long pause. Then the voice returned, sharper. Identify the passenger. Ethan looked at the woman. Her chest rose slowly under the mask. She's old, female. I don't know her name, but she asked for help. She needs care. Silence again. Then suddenly, the voice changed, full of shock. Stay where you are. Do not move. You will be escorted. Moments later, bright alien ships surrounded him. Sleek, silver crafts, each larger than his own. They guided him down through the sky, across glowing cities, and toward a floating palace of crystal and metal. Ethan's ship landed with a hiss. The doors opened. A crowd waited. Alien guards in shining armor stepped forward, weapons ready. Behind them stood a group of tall Ilari with robes of blue and silver. Their eyes glowed faintly, their skin marked with patterns of light like flowing rivers. One of them rushed forward when they saw the woman. Mother. Ethan blinked. Mother? Hands reached to take her. They lifted her gently, placing her on a floating bed of light. As they carried her, the crowd whispered in shock. The guards still pointed their weapons at Ethan. He raised his hands, slowly. I didn't harm her. I saved her. Her ship was destroyed. She would have died if I didn't bring her out. The tallest Ilari, with golden markings on his face, stared hard at him. His voice was deep and cold. You brought her. Here. That is the only reason you still breathe, human. Ethan swallowed. He could feel the distrust in every eye around him. But then, a softer voice cut through. She lives because of him. It was the old woman. She had woken, though weak. Her eyes glowed faintly as she looked at Ethan. This human gave his breath for mine. He carried me through fire. Do not shame him. The guards froze. The golden-marked leader lowered his head slightly. Around them, whispers spread faster. The why? Woman pointed one trembling hand toward Ethan. Bring him inside. They obeyed. The palace was like walking inside a dream. Tall halls of crystal reflected light in rainbow colors. Alien symbols glowed on the floor. Ethan followed silently, his boots echoing, while the aliens led the old woman to a chamber full of healing light. He stood at the edge, watching as machines and healers worked on her. Strange energy wrapped around her body. Her breathing grew stronger. Then, he noticed someone staring at him. A young woman. She was Ilari, but unlike the others, her eyes were curious instead of cold. She stepped closer, her silver hair shining like her grandmother's. "You are human," she said softly, almost like it was a question. "Yes," Ethan answered. "You saved my grandmother." Ethan nodded. "I couldn't leave her." The young woman tilted her head. "Strange. Most humans I hear about only think of themselves. Yet you risked your life." Ethan gave a small smile. "Maybe you've heard the wrong stories." She blinked at him. Then slowly she smiled back. "My name is Lyra," she said. "And you are?" "Ethan." "Ethan," she repeated as if testing the sound. "You will stay here. My grandmother wishes it, and when she wishes something, no one dares to refuse." Ethan wasn't sure if that was a promise or a warning. Hours passed. The old woman finally rose from the healing bed. Her strength returned, though she looked tired. The family gathered around her, bowing with respect. She lifted her hand. "This human has saved me. His name will not be forgotten. He is a guest of our house. Treat him with honor." The golden-marked leader frowned. "Mother, he is an outsider. He is human. We do not." Silence. Her voice cut like a blade. "He is chosen." The word struck Ethan again like a thunderbolt. Chosen. Twice now she had called him that. He opened his mouth to ask, but her glowing eyes stopped him. Not yet. The room was quiet, full of tension. Some Ilari bowed their heads in respect. Others looked at him with fear. Only Lyra looked at him with curiosity. Almost hope. Ethan realized that his rescue had not just saved a life. It had pulled him into the heart of a family, a culture, maybe even a destiny he didn't understand yet. And something in his gut told him this was only the beginning. The halls of the Ilari Palace were quiet at night. Light crystals glowed faintly, painting the walls in soft blue and silver. Ethan walked slowly, guided by Lyra. His boots echoed on the crystal floor, but her steps were silent, like a shadow. He had been given a guest room, larger and brighter than any place he had slept in for months, yet he could not rest. The word chosen still rang in his head. Why had the old woman said that? As if she read his thoughts, Lyra finally spoke. "My grandmother is no ordinary elder," she said softly. "She is a seer. Her visions have guided our people for centuries. If she calls you chosen, it is not by accident." Ethan frowned. "I'm just a pilot, a wanderer. I'm no chosen one." Lyra looked at him with glowing eyes, unreadable. "The seer is never wrong." They reached a balcony. The city stretched below, floating towers connected by shining bridges. Above them, the rings of the planet glimmered like silver rivers. Ethan leaned on the rail, staring in awe. "It's beautiful," he whispered. Lyra stood beside him. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then her voice softened. "Why did you save her?" Ethan blinked. "What do you mean?" "You risked your life," Lyra said, "for someone not of your kind. Many humans would have turned away. Some might have stolen from her ship instead. But you carried her from fire." Ethan thought back to the broken vessel, the smoke, the explosion. He remembered her fragile hands gripping his wrist. "I didn't think about it," he admitted. "I just couldn't leave her." Lyra studied him as if weighing his soul. Then, to his surprise, she smiled. It was small, but real. "Strange, human," she said softly. For the first time since arriving, Ethan felt a little warmth in this alien world. The next day, Lyra stayed close to him. She became his guide, showing him the palace gardens, the glowing archives, even the marketplace where alien traders sold strange fruits and crystal tools. Everywhere they went, eyes followed them. Some Ilari bowed slightly in respect because of the grandmother's words. Others glared in silence, distrust burning in their faces. Ethan felt the weight of those looks. At the market, an alien merchant refused to sell while Ethan was near. "Human shadows bring war," the merchant hissed. "Keep him away." Ethan clenched his fists, but Lyra stepped forward. "He is under my family's protection. Watch your tongue." The merchant lowered his eyes at once. Ethan glanced at Lyra. She was young, but her presence carried strength. "Do they all hate humans?" Ethan asked as they walked away. "Not all," Lyra said, "but most fear your kind. Humans move fast, grow fast, fight fast. To us you are unpredictable." Ethan gave a half smile. "We're not all bad." "I know," Lyra said softly, looking at him. Their eyes met, and for a moment the noise of the market faded. Ethan felt something strange, a spark he couldn't explain. That night the grandmother called for them both. Ethan entered her chamber with Lyra. The seer sat on a raised bed of light, her silver hair shining, her eyes deep as the stars. "You two have met?" she said, her voice calm but heavy with meaning. "Yes, grandmother," Lyra answered. The seer's glowing eyes turned to Ethan. "You carry courage, human, but courage alone is not enough. You must carry trust. Without it, you will fall." Ethan's voice was low. "Trust in what?" The seer smiled faintly. "In her." She pointed at Lyra. Lyra stiffened. "Grandmother." The seer closed her eyes. "I saw it in the fire. You two will walk the same path. If you fight against it, both of you will be broken. If you accept it, both of you may live." Ethan felt the air grow heavy. He wanted to ask what she meant, but Lyra grabbed his arm gently. "Come," she whispered. "She grows tired." They left the chamber. Ethan's head swirled with questions. Later, Lyra brought him to a quiet garden under the open sky. Strange flowers glowed like lanterns, their scent soft in the air. "She speaks in riddles," Ethan muttered. "I don't understand any of this." Lyra knelt near the glowing plants. Her hands moved carefully over the petals. "I do not always understand her either, but I know one thing. If she says our fates are linked, then they are." Ethan sat on the stone bench watching her. "Do you believe in fate?" Lyra looked up. Her silver hair caught the starlight. "I believe in choices, but sometimes a choice feels like it was waiting for us all along." Their eyes met again, longer this time. Ethan felt a pull in his chest, strange but strong. For the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. But far above, beyond the glowing rings of the planet, shadows moved. Enemy ships drifted in silence, watching, waiting. Ethan and Lyra didn't know it yet. But their bond was not only personal, it was the spark of something greater, something that would test them both, something that would decide the fate of two worlds. The days passed quietly inside the Elari city. Ethan was treated with respect now, though not trust. Some bowed because of the seer's words, but many still looked at him with cold eyes. He felt like a guest and a prisoner at the same time. Lyra stayed by his side. She showed him more of her world, the learning halls where glowing crystals stored ancient knowledge, the star docks where silver ships rested like birds on water, and the high bridges that crossed above endless clouds. But Ethan noticed something. Wherever they went, guards followed. At first he thought it was protection. Later he realized it was also surveillance. He was being watched. One night, as he sat alone in his guest room, Ethan's communicator beeped. It was faint, almost hidden. He tapped the device and strange static filled the air. Then he heard it, an unknown voice speaking in broken Elari code. "Danger. Approaching. Not safe." Then silence. Ethan frowned. Who had sent that? The message had no origin. He felt his skin crawl. The next day, Lyra found him staring at the city's defense towers. "Something's wrong," Ethan said quietly. "Your scanners, are they picking up movement in deep space?" Lyra looked at him surprised. "Why do you ask?" "Because I heard a warning," Ethan said, He explained the strange message. Lyra's face tightened. She didn't laugh or dismiss him. Instead, she led him straight to the council chamber. Inside, tall Aelari leaders sat in a circle of light. Their robes shimmered, their glowing eyes fixed on Ethan with cold suspicion. He claims a threat, Lyra said firmly. His device caught a warning. We should check. The leader with golden markings, the same one who had doubted Ethan before, leaned forward. A human brings a warning? How convenient. Perhaps this is his trick. Ethan's jaw tightened. I have nothing to gain by lying. If there's danger out there, you need to prepare. The golden-marked leader sneered. Or perhaps humans bring the danger with them. Before Ethan could reply, the chamber doors opened. A guard rushed in, bowing low. Counselors, we have detected movement beyond the rings, unknown ships. Too many to count. The room went silent. Ethan's heart dropped. Lyra looked at him. Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned. You were right. That night, the city grew tense. Defense towers glowed brighter. Patrol ships circled the skies. The people whispered in fear. Ethan stood on the balcony with Lyra, watching the rings of the planet shine above. Somewhere beyond them, hidden in the dark, enemy ships waited. Who are they? Ethan asked. Lyra's face was hard. We call them the cairn. Raiders. Shadows. They steal. They burn. They vanish. But this feels different. This is not a raid. This is war. Ethan remembered the wreck where he had found the old woman. They attacked your grandmother's ship, didn't they? Lyra nodded slowly. Yes. She was returning from a vision journey. The cairn struck her vessel. We thought she died. Until you found her. Ethan's chest tightened. So it was no accident. She had been targeted. Then this isn't just about war, Ethan said. They were hunting her. Lyra turned to him, eyes wide. She knew he was right. The next morning, the seer called for them again. She sat weak but calm, her eyes glowing like distant stars. The shadows move, she said softly. The cairn have awakened. Their hunger is old, and it is endless. They come for us. Ethan stepped forward. Then fight them. Prepare your defenses. Don't wait. The seer's gaze fixed on him. You speak like a soldier, human, but war is not only weapons. War is trust. Her eyes shifted to Lyra. You will fight together. The bond between you is the blade they cannot break. Lyra lowered her head. Ethan stared at the seer, unsure how to answer. The old woman's voice grew softer. Do not fear the darkness, Ethan Cole. Fear the doubt inside you. That is where battles are lost. Later, as Ethan and Lyra walked through the garden, he asked, Do you believe her visions? Lyra touched one of the glowing flowers. Always. They have never failed. If she says we must fight together, then we must. Ethan shook his head. But your people don't trust me. Half of them would throw me into the sky if they could. Lyra's lips curved slightly. That is true. But they will learn. When the shadows strike, they will have no choice. Ethan looked at her. Her calm strength amazed him. And you? Do you trust me? Lyra met his eyes. Yes, the word was simple, but it settled deep in him. That night, the warning became real. From the watchtowers came a long, deep alarm, a sound that shook the city. Ethan rushed to the balcony. Across the sky, flashes lit the darkness. Black shapes moved beyond the rings, too many to count. The cairn had arrived, and this time they weren't just hunting. They were coming for all of them. The alarm faded, but the fear it left behind did not. Across the shining city, towers burned with brighter light, and patrol ships filled the skies. The cairn had not yet struck, but their dark fleet moved just beyond the planet's rings, waiting, like wolves. Inside the great council chamber, the air was heavier than stone. Ethan stood in the center, surrounded by tall Aelari leaders. Their glowing eyes cut through him like blades. He had never felt so small. Lyra stood at his side, silent, but steady. Her presence gave him strength. The golden-marked leader rose, his robe shimmering like fire. His voice was deep and sharp. We stand at the edge of war. The cairn gather beyond our skies. And yet this human stands among us, speaking warnings as if he belongs here. The room rumbled with whispers. The leader's voice grew harder. He could be a spy, a signal for the cairn. Perhaps he leads them here. Ethan's jaw tightened. He wanted to shout, but Lyra touched his arm gently, reminding him to hold back. Then, the seer's voice rose, calm but powerful. Enough. The room fell silent. The old woman looked down from her seat. Her silver hair shined like moonlight, her glowing eyes fixed on Ethan. This human is not a spy. He is the one who carried me from death. Without him, I would not be here. Without him, I would not speak to you now. She paused. And more than that, he is chosen. The word echoed in the chamber like thunder. Some bowed their heads, others stiffened in anger. The golden-marked leader's voice shook with fury. Your visions blind you, mother. How can we trust one of his kind, when so many humans have brought only chaos? The seer raised her hand. He must prove himself. Her eyes turned to Ethan. Trust is not given, it is earned. You must stand before our people and show your worth. Only then will they follow you into battle. Ethan's chest tightened. He was no politician, no hero. He was just a wanderer. But the eyes of the council burned into him, demanding more. What do I have to do? He asked quietly. The seer's voice was soft, but it carried through the chamber. Face the trial of the circle before all. If you succeed, our people will stand with you. If you fail... Her voice trailed off. She didn't need to finish. The trial took place the next day in the heart of the city. A great circle of crystal stood above the square, glowing with light. Thousands of Alari gathered, their eyes like a sea of stars. Ethan stood inside the circle. Lyra watched from the edge, her hands clenched, her gaze never leaving him. The golden-marked leader's voice rang out. Human Ethan Cole. You claim to warn us of the cairn. You claim to fight beside us. But words mean nothing. Today, you will face the circle. Survive, and you may walk among us. Fail, and you prove what we already know, that humans are weak. Crowd whispered. Some eyes glittered with hope, most with doubt. Ethan breathed deeply. His heart pounded. What is the circle? The ground shifted. From the crystal floor rose tall figures, training constructs made of light and metal. Their glowing forms carried weapons, each programmed to test his strength. 5 of them. Ethan cursed under his breath. The trial had begun. The first figure lunged with a glowing spear. Ethan rolled to the side, barely dodging. The second swung, a blade of light. Sparks flew as it scraped his suit. He moved fast, relying on instinct. Years of flying and surviving alone had taught him to react, to think quick. He grabbed a fallen spear, spinning it in his hands. The crowd gasped. A human, using their weapon. The fight was chaos. Ethan dodged, struck, and countered. The constructs pressed harder, their glowing forms faster than he expected. His arms burned, his chest ached, but he refused to fall. One by one, he pushed them back. A hard strike to the chest shattered one. A spinning throw brought down another. The third nearly pinned him, but Ethan twisted and slammed the spear through its core. The crowd roared. But the last 2 came together. Their blades moved like lightning, cutting through the air. Ethan staggered, his arms heavy. His breath came sharp. His legs almost gave out. Then he heard her voice. Ethan! Lyra's voice cut through the noise, strong, clear. He looked at her. She wasn't shouting orders, only her belief. Her eyes burned with it. Strength surged in him. With a roar, Ethan swung wide, breaking one construct apart. Sparks burst in the air. The last one came fast, blade aimed for his chest. Ethan twisted, dropped low, and struck upward with every ounce of strength left. The construct shattered into pieces of light. Silence. Then the square erupted in sound. Some shouted in awe, others in disbelief, but none could deny what they had seen. Ethan stood in the circle, chest heaving, sweat dripping, but still alive. The seer's voice rose from above, calm, powerful. He has faced the circle. He has stood against the storm. He is no spy. He is no weakness. He is chosen. The people bowed their heads. Even those who had doubted could not speak against what they saw. Ethan looked at Lyra. She smiled, relief and pride shining in her eyes. But deep inside, Ethan knew this was not the real test. The cairn were still out there, waiting. And soon, the true trial would begin. The night sky was no longer calm. Beyond the silver rings of the planet, the cairn fleet moved like a black tide. Their ships were sharp, jagged, and alive with red light, like predators in the dark. The Alari defenses burned brighter, towers glowing, ships rising from docks like arrows ready to fly. The city held its breath. Every eye looked upward. Every voice whispered the same word: war. Inside the command hall, Ethan stood beside Lyra. Holograms of the battlefield flickered before them, dots of light for ships, lines showing movement. Alari commanders spoke quickly in their own tongue, their voices tight with fear. "They outnumber us 3-1, Lyra whispered. Ethan studied the map. The cairn ships moved in tight packs, circling like wolves, waiting to strike. He had seen tactics like this before. Pirates, raiders, mercenaries. They always waited for fear to break their prey. "They're testing you," Ethan said. "They want you to hesitate. If you freeze, they'll strike and crush you." The golden-marked leader sneered. "And what would a human know of war between stars?" Ethan turned sharply, his voice was steady. "Enough to keep you alive." The leader bristled, but before he could reply, the seer's voice echoed through the chamber. Weak but strong. "He speaks truth. Let him guide." Silence. Then slowly, the others nodded. Lyra's eyes met Ethan's. "Then we fight together." The Hilari fleet rose into the sky, hundreds of silver ships cutting through the clouds. Ethan sat inside a smaller vessel, Lyra at the controls beside him. The ship hummed with energy, its panels glowing under her touch. He strapped himself in, heart pounding. "Ever flown with a human before?" Lyra smirked faintly. "Never. Try to keep up." The ship shot forward, leaving the city behind. Stars spread before them, endless and cold. And there, like shadows waiting at the edge of light, the cairn fleet spread wide. Red sparks flared. The first attack came. Explosions ripped across the void. Alari ships twisted and dove, beams of energy slashing through the dark. Cairn vessels broke apart, but more surged forward. The battle had begun. Ethan leaned forward, eyes sharp. "They're pushing your left flank. If they break it, they'll circle behind and cut your city off." Lyra spoke quickly into the comms, her voice steady. The Alari commanders hesitated but obeyed. Silver ships shifted formation, filling the gap just as the cairn struck. The clash lit the sky with fire. "You see like a soldier," Lyra said quietly. "I see like a survivor," Ethan answered. The cairn pressed harder. Their ships moved fast, sharp, ruthless. They had no care for life, only destruction. Ethan watched them swarm and felt his stomach twist. This was no simple raid. This was an attempt to erase. "Lyra," he said, "they're not just here for your city. They're here for her." Lyra's eyes darkened. She knew he meant her grandmother, the seer, the one they had hunted before. The thought burned in both their chests. Their ship weaved through fire. Ethan took the secondary controls, guiding weapons. Beams of blue light shot forward, cutting through a cairn vessel. It exploded in silence, fragments spinning away. Another ship closed fast. Ethan gritted his teeth, aimed, and fired. The enemy burst apart. Lyra glanced at him. "Not bad, human," he smirked despite the chaos. "Not bad yourself." But their smiles faded as more cairn ships swarmed. Dozens. then hundreds. The Alari fleet fought bravely, but for every enemy they destroyed, two more appeared. The sky burned with fire and shadow. "Ethan," Lyra said, voice tight, "we cannot win like this." He scanned the battle. His eyes locked on something, the largest cairn vessel, dark and massive, sitting behind the others. Its red lights pulsed like a heart. "There," he said. "That's their command ship. Take it down and the rest will scatter." Lyra's eyes widened. "That ship is shielded. No one can break it." Ethan grinned fiercely. "Then we do it the human way." They dove through the chaos, weaving between fire and wreckage. Enemy ships chased them, but Lyra flew with precision, spinning and diving like water through rocks. Ethan fired every chance he got, clearing their path. Finally, the massive cairn vessel loomed before them. Its surface was black metal covered in glowing red scars. Its shields shimmered like fire. "Now what?" Lyra shouted. Ethan's eyes burned with focus. "You get me close. I'll do the rest." Her brows knit. "Close enough for what?" "For this." He armed the ship's core, a risky overload maneuver no sane pilot would try. Lyra's eyes widened. "That could kill us." Ethan's voice was calm. "Or it saves your people." For a moment, silence. Then Lyra nodded. "Then we do it together." The coup. Ship shot forward faster than the rest. Enemy fire chased them, beams slicing past, explosions rocking the hull. Ethan's hands flew over the controls, keeping the overload steady. The ship shook, warning alarms, screaming, "Closer, closer." The cairn command ship filled the window like a black wall. Its shield glowed, rippling with energy. "Now!" Ethan shouted. Lyra pulled hard on the controls, spinning the ship at the last second. Ethan released the overloaded charge. A blinding explosion erupted, slamming against the shield. The energy rippled, cracked, then shattered. The cairn command ship was open. Ilari vessels saw their chance. They fired everything. Beams of light tore through the massive vessel, ripping it apart. Fire burst across the sky as the command ship broke into pieces. The cairn fleet faltered. Leaderless, they scattered. One by one, their ships fled into the dark, vanishing like shadows in the night. The battle was over. Silence fell inside the ship. Ethan slumped back, chest heaving. Lyra's hands shook as she steadied the controls. Then slowly they both laughed. A sharp, breathless laugh of survival. "You are insane," Lyra said, smiling despite her exhaustion. "Maybe," Ethan said, grinning back. But it worked. Outside, the sky still burned with the wreckage of war. The Alari fleet circled, cheering in their way, silent bows of light, signals of victory. But Ethan knew this was not the end. The cairn had retreated, yes, but they would return, stronger. And next time, it would not just be a battle, it would be a war. The fires of battle still drifted in the night sky. Wreckage of the cairn fleet spun across the silver rings, glowing faintly like dying stars. The Alari ship circled in slow formation, repairing, rescuing, counting the lost. Inside their small vessel, Ethan sat slumped in his chair. His arms ached, his body shook, but his eyes were sharp and alive. Beside him, Lyra guided the ship back toward the city. Her hands trembled on the controls, yet her face carried calm strength. They had survived. Together, the city welcomed its warriors with light. Towers glowed brighter, bridges shimmered, and the sound of deep horns echoed through the sky. But the mood was not only celebration, it was heavy with memory of those who had fallen. When Ethan and Lyra landed, a crowd gathered. Thousands of glowing eyes turned toward them. Whispers moved through the people like wind through leaves. That is him, the human. He fought at her side. He broke the shield of the cairn. Ethan felt their stares. Weeks ago, these same people had looked at him with suspicion, even hatred. Now their eyes were different, still cautious, but touched with respect. Some even bowed their heads. Lyra stepped down first. her silver hair shining like her grandmother's. The people bowed deeper for her. Then their eyes turned back to Ethan. For a moment the silence pressed on him like weight. Then the seer appeared. She was weaker now, carried on a floating bed of light, but her presence filled the air. The crowd parted as she moved forward. Her glowing eyes met Ethan's, and the silence broke into whispers again. The seer lifted her hand. Her voice was quiet, but it carried across the square. This human has stood with us. He carried me from death. He fought beside my granddaughter. He faced the circle. He broke the shield of the cairn, and he has not fallen. The crowd bowed their heads, the sound of thousands moving as one. The seer's gaze grew softer as she turned to Ethan. You were not born of our stars, yet you carry a fire our people have long forgotten. You are no longer outsider. From this day you walk with us. Ethan swallowed hard. He had never wanted glory, he only wanted to survive. But now, as the people bowed, he felt something he hadn't felt in years: belonging. Lyra stepped closer, her voice strong. He is one of us now. Not just by your word, grandmother, by mine. The seer's lips curved faintly. She looked between the two of them, her glowing eyes bright with meaning. Yes, the bond is sealed. Ethan blinked. Bond? The seer only smiled, as if she knew more than she would say. Later, in the quiet of the palace garden, Ethan and Lyra sat together. The night sky was clear again, stars shining sharp above the rings. The garden flowers glowed gently around them. Ethan stared upward. It's strange. I've traveled alone for so long. Now, I feel like I've stepped into someone else's story. Lyra's voice was soft. Maybe it is your story too. Maybe it always was. He looked at her, searching her glowing eyes. Do you believe that? That I was meant to be here? Lyra didn't look away. Yes. The word was simple, but it carried weight. For a long moment they sat in silence. Not the silence of strangers, but of two souls who understood each other. But, far above in the empty black, shadows still moved. The cairn had retreated but not destroyed. Their command ship had fallen, but their hunger had not. In the dark corners of the galaxy they gathered again, waiting, building, watching. The seer knew this. Her visions showed it, and though she smiled at the peace in the garden, her heart whispered of storms yet to come. The next morning, Ethan stood on the balcony of the palace. The city stretched before him, bright and alive. Aelari ships rose and landed, their silver, hulls gleaming. The people moved with new purpose. He felt Lyra step beside him. Your people will come here one day, she said quietly. Humans and Aelari, standing together. Perhaps this was the first step. Ethan nodded. Maybe. But there's still danger out there. The cairn aren't finished. And if they return, Lyra finished his thought. We will face them. Together. He smiled. Together. That night, before he slept, Ethan walked alone to the seer's chamber. She was resting, but her eyes opened as if she had been waiting for him. You wish to know why I called you chosen, she whispered. Ethan nodded. Yes. Why me? I'm not special. I was just there. The seer's lips curved faintly. The stars do not choose by accident. You think you saved me. But in truth, it was I who saved you, brought you to where you were meant to stand. At her side. Her eyes closed, glowing faintly even in sleep. Protect her. Protect each other. The galaxy will test you both. That is your path. Ethan stood silent, her words sinking deep into him. When he left her chamber, he knew one thing for certain. His life was no longer his own. It was tied to Lyra's, to her people, to a war that was only beginning. And strangely, for the first time in years, he wasn't afraid. He was ready. The final scene. Ethan and Lyra stood on a silver starship, its hull glowing as it rose into the sky. Together, they watched the galaxy open before them. full of stars, full of danger, full of possibility. The seer's words echoed in Ethan's mind. This is only the beginning. The ship vanished into the stars,